Everybody's all pumped up? Well, I am just so thrilled to have Louise Griffith here with us today. I want to welcome all of you here at Park Office Center, as well as our other 4 locations. We are in for a treat. Louise is an unbelievable, valued client of ours and very dear friend. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce you to the group. She owns a company called One Shining Light. She is an internationally recognized speaker, author, certified Ag Mondino coach and psychologist.
Yeah.
She works with people who want to figure out what's making them tick and teaches intentional thinking. Most live in spite of their thoughts. Louise teaches people how to really live because of their thoughts. She's known for illuminating possibilities from the inside out. There's our illumination. Louise is a member of the National Speakers Association and is a contributing author to 4 different books, the latest being Women of a Certain Age by Joan Kennedy, released last month. Her book, which is in the back of the room and everybody should check it out and it's available for purchase, is You Are Worth It, 52 Weeks of Honoring, Loving, and Nurturing Your Soul. And I do have to share with you that book, and it must be about a year, 2 years now?
1 year and a half.
Year and a half, hot off the press. And Louise comes in for a tour with me. We've never met before. It was about 5:15. All the conference rooms are locked. So I'm opening conference room, showing her the center. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, on the other side of the wall were clients, one of which was Kathy Paper. And the gal that was sitting with her as her client said, "Oh, Louise Griffith, is that you? I just bought your book and I happen to have it here. Would you sign it, please?" So it was a pretty cool, meant to be all part of the plan. So
I signed up.
So you signed up that day, as a matter of fact. You were just like, woo. The other thing that I want to say is she has an unbelievable mastermind group that I've been able to participate in, the Conversation Circle. She can talk to you more about that, but believe me, I'm a walking testimonial. Everybody should check it out. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Louise with a warm welcome from everybody.
I think Lisa should work more on her energy level. What do you think? If I said half the things to you that your thoughts say to you, would we still be friends? No. So I want you to hold that thought. I mean, would you even want to hang out with me? And hold that thought, please, and then this thing to ponder during the time we have together. If you don't honor your own soul, who will? And what I mean by that is we all have an inner wisdom that can really guide us when we pause long enough to check in with it. Pause is an important word. Do one of you speed around? Lisa, yes. 5 events at once. And so I want you to hold that thought, just like knowing inside of you that you are worth it, whatever your it may be. Okay? All right. Let me give you a roadmap for the day. We have a nice handout. It's nice because they printed it on good paper. And tell you that we're going to be covering 3 main points. Number 1 is honor your wisdom. The second one is choose your story. And the third is celebrate your success. And before we close, I'm going to offer you 2 free resources to help you begin the process of even getting your thoughts in alignment more than perhaps you have until now. Okay? All right. Some years ago, I was exercising at Curves. You gentlemen don't know what Curves is. And because so many of you are young, you probably don't know what Curves is either. Do you? Has anyone been there? Yeah. Did they let me in? Well, anyway, I was at the 6 o'clock one in Lakeville, and because it was a fun group. And I remember that I was on this machine, and someone named Missy was on the machine to the left of me, and she was going like this, so we must have been working on her waist. And she told me that year so far she had lost 65 pounds. And so I'm like, wow. And I was curious, and I said, how is it that this came to be at this time in your life? And she told me she woke up one morning and just decided she was worth it. And so for about 3 days, that just permeated my thoughts. It just went in and out, wouldn't leave me. And I decided, not that you should think this way, that she had just given me a nugget for life, a really wise pearl. In that, if you don't think you're worth it, whatever your it may be, and I don't think I'm worth it, whatever my it may be, it may never happen. It may never happen as soon as it can or to the level that it can. So would you hold that? And I began wondering what it was that I would put my stake in the ground for, and what was my first it in my life. And I'm going to tell you my story, and I want you to be thinking about your own it. Hers was losing weight. And I'm going to invite you to check inside of you. What is your soul telling you? And some of you may not use that word, but think of it as inner wisdom. Think of it as inner wisdom. So it took me back to come back. I'm going to tell you my story, but I want you to think about yours. Okay? Freshman year of Holy Angels, Catholic girls' school, ugly uniform, like really ugly, gray, ugly shoes, so on and so forth. Wore a green tie if you're a freshman. I actually loved that school. I loved it, and felt like I belonged and all those good things. During that year, my parents were going through a divorce, which some of your parents may have done, you may have experienced growing up. And I knew there was a lot of money about financial things, a lot of conversation, but I thought, it doesn't bother me. I'm just not going to even be involved in it. Until my mother told me I could not go back to Holy Angels because we couldn't afford it. So then I was invested. I put my stake in the ground in my mind. I thought, no, you're not going to do this to me. I have to go to Holy Angels. And not because I should get what I wanted, like little teenagers, right? But I didn't have the words for it, but I knew that I should be going there. So I went to my soul place, which is Lake Harriet. And I'm wondering, do you have your own soul place? And if not, that's your first homework assignment. I used to be an elementary school teacher. But really, to have your place where you can go and just be. Just be, to figure out to just be. So I was tromping around Lake Harriet, and if you're in my mind, you would have heard, okay, you guys, you just think you're wrecking my life, but you're not gonna, I'm not gonna let you. And this is my school. I need to go there. And then I even said, and God, where the heck are you? I'm serious about this. And then I heard, like a peace came over me, and I heard, you'll go back. I'm like, really, what's the plan? Get a job. I'm like, yes, that's what I'll do. I'll get a job. So I went home and told my mother. Now, mind you, I had no details. But I told her I was going to get a job. I was going to pay for my tuition in addition to doing student service and blah, blah, blah. And she paused and looked at me as if I meant it, which I really did. And at that time, my older sister and her husband donated $100 toward my tuition, which was really generous because it takes many hours to earn $1.75 an hour. But anyway, I went to 50th in France. Athleta is there now, right? And it used to be a Fanny Farmer. So I put on my best outfit, certainly not my uniform, and I went in, and a kind woman looked up, may I help you? Yes, please, I've come to get a job, apply for a job. And she asked me how old I was, and I told her I'd be 15 at the end of the month. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You have to be 16 to work here. So I could tell she meant it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not part of my plan. And so then I walked from 50th to 44th, where there's a drugstore, Griffin Pharmacy, which is now Brugger's. And on the way, I thought, well, I think I'm going to speak from my heart. I'm going to tell my story because I can't be walking around the city, right? And so I walked in, and Mr. Nelson, the owner and pharmacist, looked up, may I help you? And I told him my story about wanting to go back to my school and so on and so forth. And I said, I will do anything here to earn tuition, even clean. I would have though. I would have. And I noticed something in his eyes softening. Not that they were hard before, but something was going on. And he said, just a minute, let me get you an application. And I don't even know if he asked me my age. I filled out the application, I walked home, and I waited the next day. I also said a few prayers, but I waited the next day, and nothing happened. But the second day, I got a call, and I could work till 7 o'clock, only 20 hours a week, and I was like so happy, so happy. And I began my job working in a back room with Marlis. Marlis was a very grouchy woman. No, I'm sincere. Can you picture her? And I'm also later, I mean, I hadn't thought about any of this. I wonder what it was like for her to have a little bouncy, bubbly, grateful, hello, welcome,
Hello, sorry.
15-year-old come in to her little space. Because she could be grouchy all day long by herself. She lived by herself, she's just grouchy. And so I tried to, keep it low, right? Just file my charge steps alphabetically. And I'm 99% sure Mr. Nelson created that job for me. So anyway, I just, spent time. And what happened is that actually she became more fun over time. She laughed and I didn't get more grouchy. What do you do when you're around grouchy people? Do you join their energy level or do you sort of just send out positive vibes?
You should send out positive.
It depends. Tell me more about that.
Well,
If they're a loser.
depends on the state of mind I'm in and
Yes.
who they are, what the relationship is.
She said it depends on the state of mind I'm in and our relationship. And that's really true. That's called being human. I've just decided in life I'm not going to take on, I used to be a magnet for projects to see if I could help shift their energy. It's like, bless you. But, so anyway, it's just a good thing to be thinking about. So I was grateful for that job. I was able to pay my way through high school and college. And I had a ton of fun there. By the time I got to be on the floor, if you'd come in and you'd say, your name, Kristen Brown, I'd say, okay, 4210 Alden Drive. And they're like, well, I had been filing the slips, right? So I was a PR person. But anyway, I didn't know that my soul knew that I should be there. I ended up having leadership opportunities that helped with scholarship. Does that make sense? Are there any comments you have about, we're into the first point about honor your wisdom, even if you don't have the details. And on your sheet, that's one of the first things that it says, wisdom is the memory of the soul. Wisdom brings perspective that informs your choices. And I'm going to ask you to think about this. What is it that you know, even though you may not have all the details at this moment? You know many wise things. Any comments? Are you thinking about your own it? How many of you think you do have great inner wisdom? Oh, I would just fake it and raise your hand. I would fake it. I'm telling you that you do. You just haven't maybe thought about it. And how many of you think that children are wise? How many of you have children? How many of you know children? How many of you were a child?
Still on.
I want to tell you a favorite story of mine that involves my grandson, Lucas, at age 4.5. I had spent the night babysitting because I was going to be there early in the morning for something. And Lucas was the type of child who would start off in his own bed, but cruise around to other beds during the night. You never knew where he would end up. And he was in bed with me, and I know it was 5:45 in the morning. And it was dark. I was not ready to get up yet. So I'm trying this little negotiation thing. Lukey, you don't have to go back to sleep. Just close your eyes and rest. And out of nowhere, but obviously out of somewhere, he said, Nana, old people die. So I'm like shifting. And he said, Nana, are you old? No, I didn't tell him that honestly, just the weekend before I met my whole Angels friends at Patrick's for breakfast, the ones who had the earlier birthdays who were older, and they were trying to mentor us about Social Security and all those things. But, Nana, are you old? I said, honey, I don't feel old at all. I love life. I love to learn. I love to dance. I love you. I'm just like, la, 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 la. Probably took a breath. And his comment, Nana, you look sort of old. And I didn't, and that's a quote. And I didn't need to say the next thing. You know how things sometimes roll out of your mouth? And I said, Lukey, do you think Grandma Kay looks old? The other grandmother. And his response was, no. I just talked to her this morning. She loves that story. And she's a year younger than I. And here's what I decided to do, not that it was the right thing to do. I decided to not say anything to him about that. I just decided that sometimes as an adult, I've asked too many questions of children, and that they have the right to have their own quiet, sacred space. Not that you should do that, but this is what I decided to do. And I've never, and none of the preschoolers' grandparents had passed away, and I don't know where that came from, but I held that sacred. And I then began wondering what I was thinking about when I was 4. And I'm going to ask you to think back when you were young. Now, I have a friend, honestly, she could tell you what flavor of ice cream cone she ate on a Sunday in Bancroft, Iowa. I don't remember many things, but I remember when I was 4, my baby brother was born. He was 5th child in our family, last child. We were out of bedrooms. And for a while, he would have been with my mom and dad in a bassinet. And then eventually there was a crib at the end of my bed. And I loved that little boy. And I really hadn't played with dolls. He was a real human being, just a sweet spirit. And I used to check on him. And then remember when children get strong enough to pull up on their crib, he'd be there ready for the morning, filled with hope. And I remember, though, having a strong sense that I should take care of him and protect him, that he was somehow vulnerable. I mean, I didn't know that I had that sense until I looked back. So then when, at age 26, he ended his own life, suicide, untreated depression, I went back to that vow that I made as a 4-year-old. And I'm going to step aside for a minute into my role. I just closed my private practice after 28 years as a psychologist. And I want to say this, that I don't know anything about your lives. Some of you may have experienced depression. You may be experiencing it now. You may live with someone who does. And what I want you to hear is that depression can be really real. We have up and down days, but there's something such as a clinical depression, and it's treatable. So what I want you to hear is that you, or the person or loved one you know, is not damaged goods. Not damaged goods. Nothing to be ashamed of, because it's treatable. So now I'm going to step back. Okay? Since that was a little bit heavy, I want you to look at your neighbor and tell them they're worth it. And when you hear it, say, I'm worth it. When you hear it, say, I'm worth it. Okay, thank you. So fear has been known to get in the way of honoring your wisdom. Have you experienced fear? it really can shut you down. And just even like do the body language for being afraid. Like, I would invite you to replace that with curious. Like, do curious. You're open. And sometimes we have a sense of something and we really just take a leap of faith. And there's a poem that has meant a lot to me over the years that I want to share with you. And if you like it, you can find it on my website with other poems. It's called Edges. When we walk to the edge of all the light we have and take the step into the darkness of the unknown, we must believe one of two things will happen. There will be solid ground to stand on, or we'll be taught how to fly. There will be solid ground to stand on, or we'll be taught how to fly. Being human, I would like a few more details on many occasions, right? And I have a lot of good ideas, but the truth of the matter is, it's better than the alternative. So how many of you have ever taken recently a leap of faith? And how is it when you have an intuitive thought and you actually follow it? You follow up on it. What's that been like for you? Anyone? Feels good. And how many of you know the experience of not paying attention to your inner wisdom? A coaching client, Megan, comes to mind, and I wish that you could see her sitting on my couch next to me with her hands on her head. I mean, her head in her hands. But she was like so distraught, just beating herself up. But just like, because she used to say yes when inside of her, there was a loud screaming, no. They would want her to be on a board. And so she would say yes. And then she'd be so upset with herself for not honoring what she knew to be true. I mean, she just went on and on and on. So fast forward to today. And you'll see a woman who's still very beautiful, more confident, more upright, more sure of herself, actually more joy and peace in her life. And if you asked her what made the difference, she will tell you that taking this assessment that I'm going to offer you, where she could see that her thinking patterns in setting boundaries were skewed, were challenged, made a difference. Because the language in her head was, if you don't do it, who will? But they need you. So she would say yes. And so I invite you to pause and just begin to notice the thoughts, thinking patterns, the thoughts that are in your head. We just zip along, right? And then ask yourself one of two questions. Is this way of thinking really going to add value to my life and the lives of others? Or does it have the potential of sabotaging my efforts? And you are at the head of the board table of your mind. You are the only one. And so you can decide that, proceed if you think it's going to be beneficial, and also pause and choose a different thinking pattern. It's not that that's going to retrain neural pathways, but it is something that we can do. How many of you will be willing to start pausing more? Awesome. Okay, so now I want you to get up, talk to someone you don't know, and tell them they're worth it. And when you hear it, I want you to say, I'm worth it. I'm watching the pizza take effect. Meet someone.
You're worth it.
You're worth it. I'm worth it.
I'm worth it.
Right, yeah, you were.
This is perfect. I could teach you.
You are worth it. No, I am
Definitely checking it out whenever you want. Corey,
Do you have an office? Do you have an office? Oh, you do?
You done?
Okay, cool.
If you'd like to, I can.
I mean,
That is
whatever.
very cool.
Well, whenever you'd like to be done, so you can write that down, and I will time it for that. I'll give you.
Abby's in the house, and this is our new Abby. Abby's new office center.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so this is her first event in the first few hours, first few days, I guess.
All right. You've come.
I am looking, actually, I'll be at that desk, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
You've come to a good place.
I think so.
Right. All right. Are there any other thoughts that you have about wisdom, honoring your inner wisdom? If you choose to do that, actually, you will end up with more clarity and a sense of direction. And you know what? If we go in a direction that doesn't work, what's our next step? Do it again in a different way. I mean, we get to choose. But some people actually sort of beat themselves up a lot and think that if they make a mistake, they are a mistake, and then they're bad. Have you ever done that?
Mhm.
So come with, I am going to tell you one of my favorite mistakes, okay? It's about your wisdom, but it's also moving us into choosing your story. And as we move into the choosing your story, it's something that only you can do, different perspectives. And really, honestly, so we have the thoughts in our head, and making a mistake for some people is just like the kiss of death. So come with me on a Sunday night to a quick trip in Lakeville. It's a big day in my life. I'm going to get the car filled with gas, and I'm going to wash it. Okay, so I'm like, and I can tell you that it was January 28th. I just know this because, anyway, I wrote about it. So I got my gas, I went in line, and just as I was coming up to the little box, the door closed, and another car had gone in. So I'm like, all right. So I put my car in park, and I waited. But I had connected with someone I hadn't seen in many years, and so I sort of was not in the moment. That comes in handy when you stay in the now. But anyway, I'm off, just reflecting upon the conversation, just sort of off. And then I came back. I have no idea how long it had been. And I looked behind me, and there were about 3 cars behind me. And I could see that the car was still in the car wash because I could see the taillights. And then I thought, well, maybe they got the super wash. I got the basic $5.99. I was happy to do that. So, all right. So I just waited, and I went off again. Just thinking about our conversation, just thinking, came back, and I could see that the car was still in the car wash because I could see the taillights. And then truly, I got concerned. I wondered if maybe a medical emergency had happened, a stroke, a heart attack. I once got locked in a car wash. I couldn't get out on my way to a talk, which gave me a good opening. But anyway, I wondered if anyone else was concerned. So I opened my car door, but of course that box was there. And I looked behind me, and there were about 7 cars. So a young man in the car behind me got out, and he came up, and he said, "Ma'am, did you put in your code?" I said, "No." I said, "I didn't yet because I've been waiting for this car to get out so that I could do it, and I'm really concerned." And, I went on. Maybe something really happened because I can see the car still in there. And he said, "Ma'am, what you think you are seeing of the taillights actually would be the reflection of your headlights." And I'm telling you, I don't know about you, but when I really laugh, my sisters and I do this, I cry. Because I thought, look what I just made up. Look what I just made up. And I believed it. I'm into car wash, and I'm into now probably call the medical authorities or something. Anyway, so I am laughing so hard. To top it off, I said to this young man, I said, could you please put in my code? Because I couldn't see it. I had tears. And he said, Yes, ma'am. And then he said, now next time when you come to the car wash, put your coat in first. And when it's your turn, the door will open. I'm like, I will. Okay, so I got home, and as we have been told in the National Speakers Association, type up your speaking story. So, I mean, I had so much fun, I was still laughing. And I typed it up. I didn't use it for about 2 years because the idea of a speaking story is it should have a point. And what would the point be? Don't go through life looking at the taillight. I mean, I didn't know the point until a friend gave me a CD for my birthday, and it has a song on it, song number 6, called "Be Kind." We can be kind. And I thought, that's the point. He chose to be kind, and no one honked. Then I got it, but I really couldn't get it. So anyway, my point is, I hope that you laugh when you make mistakes. Rudolf Dreikers says, have the courage to be imperfect. You know, just, how many of you beat yourself up a little bit? Well, would you be willing at the head of your board table to notice that and decide, what am I learning from this? What can I learn from this? So anyway, my story is that I think it's funny, and I also put my coat in the minute I drive up to car wash. Just the minute before. All right. Yes.
Can I add something to your story?
I want you to.
I feel like there's another message that our thoughts aren't always true.
Oh.
And what those things going through your mind, like, is this based in reality? Where
Very
your
good
reality
point.
was there's someone in there having a heart attack, and really that wasn't the reality. You know, where
Yes.
you always
Yes, good point.
you defer to the worst possible option
Yes.
ever, instead of, oh, maybe I don't know their story, maybe I don't know their
Totally.
reason or their.
I call that we can make up a straw story. So if you'll take your hand, and I don't have straws with me, but just make a fist, please, where you can just see a tiny little bit and look at someone. And how much do you really see of that person? Yeah. And so the idea is I took like a little piece of information, seeing a taillight, and look what I did with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can ask
Assumption.
ourselves.
Assumption.
Yeah, assumptions. Yep. Okay, on point number 2, this is exciting if you want to have a little more joy and peace in your life to consider. All right, choose your story. And read with me. And I say, do you ever hear any of these messages as a child? All right, so please read with me. Don't be a know-it-all. Keep peace at any cost. Be happy with what you have. Be quiet. Be good. Do what I tell you. Don't be too bright. Can you think of any others?
Because I said so.
Because I said so, okay.
I always negotiated that one. If I felt that it was, sometimes I was probably a little off, but other times it's like, come on, you can't, because I said so.
So you tell them that. How did that work?
Yeah, well, you know, my dad never said that, so that was always good. You know, a reason, it was like, oh, okay. But anyway.
Okay.
Some of them for the others.
How about some of the other ones you may have heard? Come back with me to Holy Angels that sophomore year. My friends didn't know I wouldn't even be able to go back. I didn't say anything about that. I just had my blue tie on. And my friend suggested that I run for sophomore class president. I'm like, fun, I'll do it. And I was in the back of the chapel, which Catholic Girls' School, with others who had run for student council. And I remember looking at the altar. We were waiting for the results and saying, you know what, if I get this honor, I will be the best leader that I can for my class. I'll take this seriously. And if not, it's okay. I'm so grateful to be here, to be having this experience. It was a win-win for me. So when I got home and told my mother that I had been given that honor, her first comment and only comment was, "Now, dear, don't get a big head." And I didn't have the words for it then that felt shaming. I didn't even know what it just didn't sound like that'd be a good thing to do. And I was walking home just so grateful, and I wanted to call my sister Colette, because, to tell them thank you for the money they had given me, because I may not have been there. So don't get a big head. And here's what I did with that in my lifetime. I let myself play small over the years. I'm not blaming my mother. I think that a lot of the messages that we heard were well-meaning and intended to teach us something. I never woke up and said, I think I'm going to say something today that's going to wreck my kid or, cause some damage, right? No, not as a parent, not as a teacher, certainly not as a grandmother. And yet my daughter's given me feedback, which I appreciate, that, you know what? Some of the things I said or did weren't the least bit helpful. And I'm grateful because then I can listen, look at the world through her eyes, and ask forgiveness, even though it wasn't my intention. Okay? So I had the opportunity to discuss with my mom in her 80s. I was doing some internal work. And she said, "Oh, sweetheart, I was trying to teach you the difference between being conceited and being confident," which is a good lesson for a 15-year-old. So my challenge to you and invitation is for you to consider which messages you were given are still a part of your story today. Because maybe it's time to give it up. Maybe it's time to reframe it. Once a year, I speak to a group of ninth graders in Burnsville at a program called Hope for Tomorrow. And I was teaching them the difference between being a victim and a martyr, this happened to me, and blaming others, and or saying, this is what I experienced, and this is what I'm learning or what I've learned. And they got it. They got it. In my own life, I have two stories. One, both are true. I was married for 43 years. Verbal, emotional abuse, financial deception, la, 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 la. And I sort of woke up out of my trance at one point, and my soul was dying. Honor your own soul. And so I left. Story B is I was married for 43 years, and I have a ton of good memories. Good memories of raising our children, of being involved with other families. I have a ton of good memories. And I actually can see my former husband as one of my best teachers in life. So you just don't go from story A to story B. I had a coach, I found a good therapist. You just think you have to do your healing work. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's nice to be settled in on a different viewpoint and to have done a lot of healing. So I want you to just be thinking about that. What message that you received is still a part of your story? And maybe it's time to give it back to that person. Maybe it's time to reframe it. Will you do that? I'll never know if you do, but if you're not, I'll be so happy. I want to do a half-day workshop one day on choosing our story. So, all right. Now the offer that I want to tell you before we end is, and so will you pass out the sheets? It goes with our first 2 points, honor your wisdom, choose your story, and it's about our thinking patterns. So all right. You're a very attentive audience. It's nice to look out at people who listen.
I love your stories.
Thank you. Okay, so this first box, thank you, she fixed my scar. Here, you gotta have friends. Thank you. The first box is one that you might want to consider in that it has an article that's in this book, Pay Attention to the Traffic Lights. And it talks about reframing your inner thoughts. Red for stop, yellow pause, and it's free. And my computer person is actually coming today at 2:00. So you'll get that article right away. Okay? And the second box may not be for everyone. I'm looking for the thing. Thank you. Because you may not be ready for this yet. This is about scheduling You Are Worth It discovery session. And what I'm able to offer you, which I'm excited about, is an assessment that I'm trained in. Where did I put that to? Here. That actually will measure mathematically the clarity of your thinking patterns. And it's not a behavior report, it's not a personality report. And so you can add, this is mine, if you want to take a look at it. You can see things that are challenged are in a color. Green means that they're balanced capacity, no risk. And so these are strengths that you can actually use. And what I appreciate about it is the math of it and the science of it. So I will spend with you 20 minutes going over the highlights of this, and then we can see what would be next for you. So it's not for everyone, but if you like that idea, put the word assessment on there and I will be in touch with you, okay? And the third piece, thanks for that, is if you know of a group, a venue that would benefit from this message, I'd be so grateful because I love doing this. And if they are as good an audience as you, put it down, okay? All right. How many of you are ready to really experience your magnificence? Awesome. All right, so I have something that I'm going to suggest we do together. Actually, you have to do this. Get with someone, one other person, and face them knee to knee, and decide who's going to be A, who's going to be B.
Yeah, we got.
And these chairs move around.
You are tall.
And if you need someone extra, I'll be with you.
This is awesome.
Knee to knee.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody look at the knees.
All right, who's A?
That's cute.
All right, what do you want to be? A or B?
I'll do
All right, A's, raise your hand. We're going to break some rules. Are you up for it?
Yes.
Having gone to Catholic schools, I really love to do this one. But anyway, number A. Here's the thing. You're going to have 1 minute to talk positively about yourself. That's a rule you're going to break. Some of the strengths and gifts that you bring to life. So positive. And then even if you can go internally, like kindness or whatever, it doesn't matter, but positively. And where are the B's? I'm a B. We're going to break another rule because we're going to listen.
What?
Yeah. We're going to actually listen. And don't let A engage you in a conversation.
Oh, no.
Because then they won't use up the minute, right?
Use it in a minute.
All right. And B's, where are the B's? I'm a B. If our partners stop talking before you hear, you must make them stand, flap their wings, and say, I am great. All right.
All right.
Now this timer should work. I get confused if I like ding on my clock or whatever, but I know we have a lot of tech people here, so I'm happy about that. All right, let's go. On your mark, get set, go.
Trustworthy, reliable, honest. I really like that. Hard work.
hard. I am very diligent in my work. I always am a perfectionist. What else? I love the kids. I try to teach
So, timer done. Okay, so bees, let's stand. Those of us who listened. Yeah. And look at our partner and say, as you look at his or her eyes, I've got the best partner in the whole room. I want to be just like you when I grow up, and give him a standing ovation.
I got the best partner.
Now, B's, we have 1 minute. And A's, let us engage in a conversation. Clap your wings. So far, no flapping. All right, on your mark, it said go.
I am perfect, and at this time of my life, I did good. I have many things, and something like, and trying to say that here my mother, here house, cabin, business work, and of course, and one of the things that helps me overall is going home to my daughters, they give me love, and I just can't get that enough. They're the best. They have love, they taught me kindness, they taught me to listen, to pay attention, to give them more like love in that, because they bark at me, and I always say, they come up and they'll bark at me, and I grab them on my back. So they help me a lot. So I went down, I went to friends, learned new activities, and I'm continuing to study these, trying to reach those goals that I have with my kids.
All right. Oh my gosh. I'm done. Okay, so A's. Stand, A's. A's. Stand. And look at your partner and say, I thought it was great till I met you. You're my role model for life.
I was grateful I met you.
Okay, how was that for you?
That's good.
It's
Yeah,
good?
it was hard.
You thought it was hard? Tell me more about that.
To try to
Okay,
Julie,
Julie said it was hard because
to verbalize all your great qualities
okay, anyone else relate to that?
Yes.
and staying positive too. Trying
Oh
to
yes, if I said, hey, give your top 10 bad things, whoo, we'd be done in 30 seconds, maybe. Hope not. So any other comments about this experience?
Good job interview.
Pardon me?
Good job interview.
Oh, because you're saying positive things? But I have something for you to consider. If you're not going to say them, who is?
It's true.
If you're not going to say them, who is? If you're not going to, you're on your own, so who will? If you're not going to be in charge of your internal dialogue, who will? So if you want to blame people, that's a bad thing. If you want to stand in the driver's seat of your life and be in charge of the head of the board table of your mind, it's actually sort of a good thing. So I'm going to give homework. I'll never know if you do it. I want you to consider awakening in the morning, telling yourself the things that you told your colleague. We're not used to it, but I'll tell you what, it's like Marianne Williamson in Light. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that someone won't feel insecure. And there's an energy that you exude, and you greet the day differently. And so no one knows you're doing it, so it's okay. It's not like you have a light. I'm like thinking positively about myself. But I would like for you to consider, because actually on your handout it says that to not do that is selfish. To be thinking about your shortcomings and to not honor values. It's actually selfish because you all have God-given gifts and they're unique and they're different. And just think about what can happen when we all do more of that. So in closing, you have two choices. Number one, you can play small. You can be hard on yourself, not be kind to yourself, not show up being who you really are. And I want you to notice the impact and resonance of that choice. Okay. The second choice you have is to step into the magnificence and the light of who you are. Owning your gifts, sharing them with others, doing the good that you're doing in the world. That's a choice that you have. And I'd like you to notice the resonance and the impact of that choice, please. I hope you make the second choice because it is who you are and you are so worth it. Thank you.
Woo-hoo! Who's ready to play big? Woo! All pumped up. Oh, thank you, Louise.
Thank you for
This
the
is
opportunity.
Awesome. And she does have books in the back of the room. And we also have, can you quickly
If you
explain
just,
what we want?
if you don't want to put that assessment on your thing, I also have a clipboard here if you want, and I'll contact you and tell you, and there's no charge for you. It's fascinating work.
Well, and there's also surveys, and we love to get the input on the feedback on that. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Want to remind you that we have lots of fun February events coming up. We do have our February Power Lunch. That's going to be on Thursday, February 23rd at International Plaza. That's going to be Jim Jurowitz, a client of ours. He's the Brain Company, and Zenith Coy, World Financial Group. And they're going to, it's all about making 9 streams of income. So we're going to learn how to make money online while you're asleep. Referral income, he says, is the easiest money that you can make. And recruiting people with burning desire that can sell something is the way to do it. So that's going to be February 23rd. And then in March, we have Dale Brosey, Pat Devine with LTR Digital, and they are going to be speaking on the analytics of social, what comes after the like. So they're all about KPIs, which I had to look up, and that is key performance indicators, a measurement plan on how to use Google Analytics, and some lesser known tricks about how Google can work for you in the year ahead. So those are our 2 upcoming Power Lunches. We have, like I say, February fun time, don't we, everybody? We have Teresa's in the house with WIN, Women in Networking, and we're going to be hosting, sorry guys, and there's more guys here than, it's only for girls. It is going to be the wine and chocolate event that we host on February 7th, and that's going to be at Park. That's going to be right here. It's an annual event. This is our, what, 7th year. We get over 100 women, and we have fun. And maybe if you guys are nice, you might be able to come for 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Next Thursday, we have Park Networking. We've been getting 40, 50 people, a 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock thing. That's on the 2nd here. Everybody kind of a casual. Everybody has an opportunity to share their elevator pitch, and we go from there. February 9th, we're going to be cheering on our amazing fearless leader. She has been nominated for the Team Women Minnesota event. It's a Wavemaker Award, and she's up for mentoring. So, yep, we're going to be there. And then, of course, we have Thirsty Thursday, the 3rd day of the month, our kegerator out at Minnetonka, and we have the 4th Thursday is this, and then next Tuesday is Ben, the Google guy. So he's going to be, and that's going to be on nonprofits. So lots of stuff, lots of fun. Our website, go to our website, register, check us out, and we'd love to have you join us for anything. And it's so nice y'all to be here. Thank you. And thank you, Louise. That was awesome. Love your stories. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a great day. And let's raise her up and woohoo. Woo!